Hello there ladies and gentlemen, my name is Owen and welcome to this brand new video here on Blurb Osh. Today we're with the Vectra. That's quite bright, sorry. We're with the Vectra. We're trying to patch things up here on the boot. In my last video with the DS4 you guys would have seen that we've got some new parts, also say new parts, new rubber seals for the wiper mechanism for the rear boot on the Vectra. We've also got some paint which I've got here for not only the boots but the mirrors as well, because the mirrors need repainting and they need doing properly. So I've just, in case you guys are wondering, just sorted out the bits on the DS4 in this part of the video. This video is going to be cut into two, because once I've done what I'm doing here today, we'll carry on with this at the next section. For you it'll be a couple of seconds, but for me it'll be a couple of days time. So we've got some paint. I'm going to try it on a little bit of cardboard and match it up to the paintwork of this and see how we get along. If it's a perfect match, we're in business. If it's not, well, it's not the end of the world, I suppose. So on the basis of this is just a tester, I've got this little bit of cardboard and these are the cans. Now they've got the sort of colour palette on it, which, yeah, I don't know. Looking at the colour palette on the actual tin itself, it doesn't quite look the same, but we're going to find out if this will do the job. The car says that the colour of it is jungle green, and this is what I've told is the manufacturer's colour, which is velvet green. So it looks close enough. Because I did some research on this car, if you guys haven't wondered. It doesn't have any service history with it. So I went and found the dealer that the car was it was registered from, which was in Stoke-on-Trent. So no, it wasn't. It was Telford, actually. It was Greenhouse in Telford. And I found that out from my local Vauxhall dealer. So I went there and I was told then that the car was registered as velvet green, not jungle green. So why there's a sticker on the front bumper saying jungle green, they say to me the colour is very, very similar, so I don't know. Anyway, we're going to try this out and see if this colour will do the job. If it does, that's good for the mirrors, because then we'll get that sorted. But what I want to find out is how close is this colour. So let's find out. So looking at it briefly, there is a metallic fleck in there at least, and that does simulate. Do you know what? That ain't actually a bad match, I don't think. Obviously the paint is still wet, so I'm going to leave that in here to dry until next time I come and sort the car out. But once that's dry, we'll have a look again at the paint difference. But so far I'm quite happy with the colour combo it looks like at the minute. There's plenty of metallic fleck in there, and that does reflect the colour of the car. Obviously there's going to be a little bit of paint difference because this colour has aged 26 years and this colour's just come straight out of the tin. So there is that to take into factor. But so far, looking at it, it doesn't look too bad. But only time will tell in the next cut of the video when we start trying it on the car. It's another day, probably about a week or two later since we last were at the Vectra, and now we're going to paint it. Now, if you remember, literally a couple of minutes ago I painted a bit of cardboard. I think this is going to match pretty well, to be fair. So let's go down this way And let's take a look at this underneath here. In order to paint it, I think it needs to be moved a little bit further forward. This car absolutely stinks. The handbrake is seized on, so it struggled to move, but that will be coming at a later date. I'll probably send it to the garage to get that done. I've moved it at the front for further this way, so the car's more angled, so we can have a look underneath the car once we've done this bit. So we're going to take this tape off, we're going to have a little look underneath and see how this rust is now I've covered it up, and I haven't been here for weeks doing this. And then we're going to tape up the majority of this window and the sides here, so we don't get any overspray, because that's important. We don't want any overspray. So let's go and have a little look at this hole. Okay, so here goes nothing. Let's see. Just take that off. Put that there. And then let's take this one off. Let's see where we're at with this. So it could do a little bit more light sanding, just to get the rest of that off. So we'll do that first, and then we will get this all primered and start the rest. What we want to do is tape underneath as well. Now I'm hoping it doesn't hit that, so let's get that done first. Let's sand this bit, and then let's tape underneath, and then let's tape the rest of the back of the car to make sure we don't get any overspray, because that is what we don't need. Okay, so this ain't the best, but I ran out of tape, so I'm covering the rest with tarp. I'm just hoping none of it goes over on this side. I might find something just to cover that up with, maybe. But there it is. Let's get this painted. So that's the primer on. So now we've just got to let it dry. Then I've got to lightly sand it down, spray it again with primer, and then sand it down again, and then it should be ready for then paint and lacquer. I'm hoping the painting part of it is going to be done today, because this is drying pretty quickly, which is good. But what we want to do is let it cure completely, and then we can spray it again. Okay, so that's all dried now. So we're just going to sand this next. Now, I know there's, as you can see, like dimples in there. Now, this isn't obviously a professional job, and it is starting to rain. But the idea is to make this look a lot better than what it did. So I'm going to sand over this a little bit, and I'm going to coat it again in primer. And then I'm going to sand it down a little bit more, ready for the paint to adhere. Okay, so now we're going to let that dry, and then we're going to apply the paint. So that's as smooth as I can get it for now. So now we're going to paint it and see how this comes out. So whilst we're letting that dry, I thought we'll have a little look underneath. Now, I've got the torch. Let's climb under here and take a look at what we got. So we can see the car's been undersealed previously, and there is a hole right there. You can see where the spare wheel is. Take all this off here, because that is going to need looking into, I think. Need to cover that up at some point. This is definitely going to need bushes, I think, at some point. You can see where the rear arms have been changed at some point. You can see right there in the middle of your screen there is a nice clean bolt. So the rear arms have definitely been changed. Now, looking at it, the handbrake cable there, oh, I'll have to get on my front. Oh. The handbrake cable right there looks to be stuck, and that doesn't look particularly clever. So it's going to definitely need some work, which I think a garage is the only appropriate way of going about it. It's probably going to need some rear bushes at some point. Let's have a look. The exhaust looks weathered, but it looks okay from where I'm seeing. But you can see the entire underneath of the car here has been undersealed, including, I think, and I'm not sure whether this is a good thing or not, because I'm just looking here and I can see more holes. Yeah, it looks like it's been undersealed at some point. But I'm looking, I'm hoping not. But those pipes over there look like they've been undersealed too. I don't know whether you can see it. That might not be a good thing. Now, on examining the springs on the rear, they look like pretty good new suspension, really. You can see there's a tag there, which is good. So it's had fresh suspension at some point, not so long ago. What is that? It's a chassis mount, I think. But we do need, some work on that handbrake cable. In fact, that cable right there looks very damn close to the wheel. So that's probably why it's seized. So it's definitely going to need work there. What's all this here? I don't know what that is. I'm going to have to climb over to that side and have a look under that bit there, because that looks very, very crusty to me. It all looks pretty crusty under it. But I mean, on the whole, I've seen worse. I mean, fuming was much worse. Yeah, it's gonna need some work for sure. I mean, other than that, I mean, if we look at the rear, Let's get a bit further back. All this under here, that looks pretty wet, that actually. In fact, it looks very, very wet under here. Why that is, I'm not sure. You can see there's cobwebs and what have you under here. But it all looks pretty clean under here, which is first of all good. The exhaust is obviously black as anything. Those hangers are looking a bit corroded. What worries me is how much they've put on here. Is it hiding anything? Because although it looks as tidy as it is under here, pretty much. I mean, with a new suspension like that there, for example, that's definitely new. To some degree. It's a bit caked up there, but this would have to go on a ramp to look at it, really. But so far, I mean, I know the car drives good. The car's definitely seen better days, that is for certain. I mean, that. Let's have a look on that side. Now, I know the rust down here hasn't really got any better or worse, but we will be sorting that at some point. I'm just concerned with how crusty. I mean, this obviously needs attention, but and so does this, really. It's definitely in need of some resto work. Now, I can't see in there, so you guys are going to have to tell me what I'm seeing in here. It just looks really corroded. I could jack this up and have a better look. What can I see? It just looks really, really rough. Down under here. Yeah. I really don't know what I'm looking at here. I think the best thing to probably do is do it via this angle, so let's have another look. Let's see. What's under here? It does look pretty hanging under here. What is that? I don't even know what that is. Is that some sort of bush? Potentially. Let's go this way. It's obviously the sill. It's caked for sure. The more I'm looking at this, guys, the more I'm wondering whether this is a good idea. Or am I going to end up spending loads of money on this to get it right? I think the first assumption is yes. Well, we'll have to jack it up at some point to try and find out exactly how bad or how extensive this rust is, because I can only see so much at the minute whilst the paint is drying. I think that'll be next on the agenda before we do any welding in this corner here, is to jack it up fully and have a proper look underneath. So we've seen that. I'm going to try and get you guys in a bit further, meaning I'm going to get a bit further in to see what's going on here. It just looks very poorly. I'm trying to tell you what I can see. So that there in the centre of your screen is actually the rear arms. So that's a rear arm bush. That looks better, but something's going to have to be dealt with there, I think, because the rest of it, looking further down, looks pretty okay. Now, with that being said, I've got to try and manoeuvre things around a bit here. The other side looks to be oh, this is not great. Hang on. Looks to be more promising. That looks a lot, well, it doesn't look much better, but it looks better from what I can visually tell you. What have we got up here? The springs are definitely corroded. In fact, is that sitting on there properly? Surely that is. Unless that's part of it. I mean, what can I tell you guys? It's definitely in need of a lot of love when it comes to all this. What am I going to do here? I mean, here's the plus side, yeah? We don't have to do a fuel tank. The fuel tank's covered in it too, as well as the straps. And they're looking okay. But I'm just looking at all this here, and I can see obviously this is going to be roadside. I'm just looking at like clips for the handbrake and what have you. They look like they're probably going to break off. It's probably going to need a bit of work. I'm trying to figure out myself which handbrake is stuck. It definitely doesn't seem bad. A good sign is that bolt there looks really fresh. But I do think it's this wheel. I do think it's this wheel that's stuck. And it doesn't surprise me when you see the cable looking like that. So it probably either needs adjusting or it needs a new cable. In fact, I'm trying to compare the two cables. One looks a bit stretched, so when you see that cable and then you see that one there, they do look a little bit different. I'll probably be better off sending this to the garage to get stuff like this done. I can imagine those hangers are going to be made redundant when they put a new cable on. The fact that that one's close to the wheel there, and then that one, I mean, that's fairly close to the wheel as well. Bugger knows. What's good though is it looks like it's had rear shocks, rear arms done and what have you not too long ago. So that is some good news out of the bad news, I suppose. So I've just applied quite a bit of paint there, and it seems to be running off it, which is not great. But I think it might be to do because of how cold it is, which is another thing. Because it's just starting to get quite cold now, so I don't think the paint is sitting. So we're gonna have to call it a day at this point, guys. So stay tuned for part 3. I mean, the boot will get sorted. That's not a problem. I'm just thinking about the underneath of it now and how that's gonna pan out. So stay tuned, guys. Take care and stay safe. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Leave a like and subscribe if you liked the video. And I'll see you guys next time. Carry you home.